All right. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. That sounds like a familiar greeting from somebody in media who's since passed. But first of all, my name is Ralph L. Crowder III. I'm an independent journalist and producer of multimedia. I'm sitting next to uh, Tyrone Fisher. He's a community intern for the Francis E. Thompson Digital Library for Family Research, and also to Tyrone's right, Cindy Lewis, who is with Syncar Communications. So we are here. We are here.
Yeah.
First of all, we're going to talk a little bit about uh, our first film here in the series Before the Mayflowers Landed, which is a film and community discussion series happening starting here November 18th, Saturday, November 18th from 2 to 4 p.m. right here in the 3M auditorium, a beautiful space of exhibition that is lined with the values and principles and mission statement of the Minnesota History Center. And I'm really excited about this monthly series. It's going to run November through March.
Correct.
And we're going to talk about some other things in the series, but this first conversation is going to be about the lost Negroes of North America. It's a silent film experience with a three-piece band, and also featuring a poet that is going to be offering some ceremonial introductions through poetry. First of all, Tyrone, why don't you just introduce yourself to the viewing audience, man? Just tell us a little something about yourself and maybe talk about the media project that you're working on with the Francis E. Thompson Digital Library for Family Research.
Okay. Well, my name is Tyrone Fisher. I'm with the Francis E. Thompson Digital Library for Family Research. I am a sophomore in high school, and the things that we do the at the Francis E. Thompson Digital Library for Family Research, we do interviews throughout the community. So my last project was to go find the differences on 48th in Chicago and 38th in Chicago.
Mm, excellent. Now, we also want to give a big shout out to One Family, One Community, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's right, because we had to dig in the crates and actually do a collaboration with that community group, and big shout out to them too. But brother, excellent introduction of yourself. You are definitely one of the most talented young media people I know. So thank you for participating in this discussion. All right,
Yes, sir.
all right. Cindy, go ahead.
My name is Cindy. As Ralph said, I'm with Syncar Communications. I've been working with Ralph well over a decade, and collaborating with the media projects and film productions that he has presented all across the country. We've traveled far and wide presenting this work in the Lost Negroes of North America. We've actually workshopped this one before, and so I am really excited about how far we've come, and really excited to present this work, and really glad that Tyrone is on board, and a lot of the work that we've been doing with the interns, and we'll hear a little bit more about that later. But yeah.
Thank you, Cindy. So with that, let me just say this is beautiful because it's kind of like an intergenerational thing going on, and I think a lot of times as adults we see things from a certain lens and a certain perspective through our experiences as adults, and sometimes it we don't include this valuable voice to
Sure.
connect with. And so this should be a very interesting conversation, especially of the subject matter, the lost Negroes of North America. So are we ready to go ahead and get into it?
For sure.
All right. So Tyrone, what do you think about now? How old did you say you are?
I'm 15 years old.
15. Now, what do you think about that word, or what is and was a group of people um, that were called Negroes. I mean, do you even think about that? Does that what I mean? What does that mean to you?
I
From
mean,
yeah, go ahead.
Negroes, it means like, to me, it means like when, I would say when slavery started, like how the slave owners would call us Negroes, or the N word with hard R's. It was like, to me, it felt like they were threatening them, or like giving them a name to separate them from other people.
Hmm.
Like how colored people weren't black at the time; they were just colored, and they had white people.
You know, you brought up some, and let me just say, this is totally organic. This was not any prepped and any kind of questions that you were previewed to, right? So this is all off the top.
Yes.
All right, that's what's up. I appreciate that, brother. All right, all right.
That's right.
So you know what's so funny is Tyrone mentioned colored. So I mean, we have to deal with just even another. So we've colored, Negro, black,
Afro.
Afro American,
Hmm.
African, no, Afro American,
Yeah.
back to black,
Yeah.
and then African American. So we have like a lot of dynamics of evolution happening. Um, Tyrone, when you've heard that term used, Negro, is there anything else that you associate that with other than slavery?
I mean, no, but sometimes yeah, cause you know how the word, how the N word has grew to now today. People go around say it like, it means different to different people. So
Yeah,
like if a white person,
go over those meanings for different people. Negro, so just Negro, not the other word. All right.
so for Negro coming from a black person to another black person, I wouldn't say it's not like used against them or anything. It's probably like people use it as in a joking matter, but coming from a white person to a black person, it might be a threat because how white people, what they put black people through back in the 1800s, 1700s, because black people was really doing everything that the white people wanted us to do.
So let me ask you this: when you say when let's say I was talking to somebody and in conversation, and I referred to them as a Negro because you said black people use it with each other. What what does that mean in terms of how you feel that means when we're using that word together?
I
You
mean,
said because it's kind of a joking way. So what does that mean in terms of a joke that is your understanding?
I would say like in the movie White Chicks,
Mm.
and the guy was like, Negro please.
Mm.
They use it as a joking matter in that way, but it depends on who's saying it. Like, if like how it comes off
Mm.
towards people and how people takes it.
Mm.
So it's all about the tone.
Wow. Cindy, um, what are your thoughts? I mean, around that word, just because we're going to just deal with the word
Yeah,
first,
let's
and
deal
then we're
with the
going to
word.
expand the whole title, right? Go ahead.
I agree with Tyrone. It really kind of depends where it's coming from. In my experience, in my time, I think once upon a time the word Negro was something that we didn't really want to be affiliated with. That was the other. And we were black, we were not Negro. You know, we weren't colored either. In my lifetime, I wasn't any of those things. But as I look back on history, that was affiliated with something or a time and place that it was hard. It seemed like it was hard, and our people were, traumatized by, all sorts of things here in America. But looking back, the time of the Negro was very, very interesting. We were doing much better uh, economically. We had, our own schools. We had black teachers. Uh, you know, churches were on fire. I think, we were being led. by our churches in a different capacity than we maybe feel and see now.
When you say churches was on fire, what do you mean?
On
Because I
fire
mean,
just
is that
meaning,
literally or what you saying?
actually, you know what? And,
That's
and
why I
you're right
wanted you to
about that.
clarify
And
that.
you're right about that. On fire in two ways.
Okay.
One, meaning well led and well followed. You know, we were there, the congregations were large, and we were moving in a unified manner. So we met there. You know, information was heavily disseminated in our churches, received and disseminated. But then also, physically, they were on fire. They were being set on fire because of all the things I just mentioned. You know, economically, we were doing well. We were meeting, and they just didn't quite know how to contain us and really what we were doing. And so that was a place and a time that they could know that they could catch us, and they did.
Let me just say this because I think we share this in common. Well, I know we share this in common. You know, my grandparents were Negroes. You know what I mean? Like, you know, just straight up. And saying that in our age group, as you just pointed out, was kind of that was the other.
Right.
We didn't want to be of the way and the generations have evolved. We didn't want to necessarily be affiliated with Negroes.
That word, but yeah.
but that's our grandparents.
Right.
So and I've said this before, I have absolute love and appreciation and so much respect for my grandparents.
Yes.
And when I think about them and I think about that time period of being shaped and being the first complement of my parents, having that experience with my grandparents, which is a very much of a blessing for anybody that has that. When I look back on that, and this is the broader discussion, but we've lost a lot.
Yes.
We've lost a lot. Talk about your grandparents.
You know what? My grandparents, my grandfather, I had a grandfather who was very influential in my life and also in the work of the country. My grandfather, he worked the railroad. But when he was around, he was just a wealth of information. He was a disciplinarian. Everything was in order. And sometimes it was like, man, you know, but when we look back, I understand full well why he was the way that he was. And I have very fond memories of my grandfather as well.
Now, Tyrone, you're originally you came from New Orleans,
Yes, sir.
right? And talk a little bit about the differences because this is again the lost Negroes of North America. Tyrone, you've had the experience of being in Louisiana, which is obviously in the southern part of America. Talk about some of your early experiences in New Orleans and even participating, I think, just talk about New Orleans and that culture and the difference between where we are. What's the main things?
Well, coming up in New Orleans, Louisiana, it's kind of hard because it's not a lot of jobs for people. And as of right now in Louisiana, it's a lot of schools that has shut down, elementary schools, high schools, middle schools. So it leaves, you know, the kids that is the future of this generation, you know, without education. So, you know, as me moving up here kind of helped. And it's also different down there because I would say, you know, it's not a lot of black business owners.
In New Orleans,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, because, well, I would say I grew up with my grandma a lot. So,
And hold on, let me ask you a question. And how did your grandmother identify when she talked about herself? Did she say she was a black woman, or did she say was African American, or what do you remember?
just an African American female.
Okay.
So, you know, I don't know any jobs before I was born my grandma had, but after I was born, my grandmother was working as a maid for these rich white people. So every day my grandma would go to their house, clean, and I would go with her because I didn't have nobody to watch me. And so I'll be helping her clean the white people house or just play with their kids, hang out there. And they would not pay my grandma enough money that she had earned. My grandma would come home, I would say $50 a day for cleaning their whole house.
You know, that's interesting because a lot of experiences of the Negro were doing domestic work and
That's
things of that
correct.
nature.
I
And
was going to
go
say,
ahead.
I want to say it's really interesting that um, my grandmother, you know, she passed away when I was very young. So, but my grandmother and my aunt and my mother all did that sort of domestic work, cooking and ironing and that sort of thing. And it's really interesting all the way down to your lineage that is a common thread. And so, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. And when you look at those conditions from at least that generation that we're talking about, or those generations that we're talking about, because this particular film is mainly focused between the 10 years, the decade of 1945 to 1955. And what we are having an experience within this silent film that it's accompanied by a three-piece band to kind of bring in the spirit of the visual art is how the Negro, much like the question to our young intern Tyrone and his reflection even on his own grandmother and also yours, how many times they came from very challenging environments and migrated to the north, these northern cities. And out of those challenging experience, maintained and built their family structures with certain values and principles that were heavy instilled in all capacities of how we interacted in this new environment in the north. So you pointed out the church, schools, business, home ownership, social institutions. There's all kinds of things that the Negro, coming out of very difficult, challenging situations in the South, migrated to the North. And actually, in that 10-year period, there's a data point by the United States government that per capita, the then Negro was, for a short period of time, doing better in their household economics than any other group in America.
Yes.
And that's that's brought out in the film. So this is not me just saying this, you know, just to try to be controversial or anything. But this is why when we think about where we are now and the challenges that still exist, even in the North, what happened? What happened to our institutions? What happened to our families? What happened to our connection in our communities? Where are we? And how important that is to share an experience like that with our younger generation and even ourselves. So how important is this? Because Cindy, you know more about this. Tyrone, we're going to get to ask you some questions around some of the content, but how important is this piece, Cindy, to share with Tyrone's generation?
Oh my goodness, it's so monumentally important. You talk about the loss of the family unit and how we even operate in the community. Once upon a time, It's so important that I remember reading W.E. Du Bois. He created the
Did you
African.
say Du Bois
Du
or
Bois,
Du
Du
Bois?
Bois.
Oh, I was just saying Du Bois. Wow, you was
Du
really on it.
Bois, that's it. Let's get official with
Go ahead, go
So
ahead.
he actually created the African uh, encyclopedia, the African American encyclopedia system, because for two reasons. One, he thought it could help assist with fighting racism, and number two, it needed to help to instill who we were to what he called our young pupils, to our students, to our young people. So as far back as 1945, 1955, that thought was in the minds of the adults that knew that going forward, who we are, who we've been, is monumentally important to young people. And so this work, this film, is most important that it is in the minds and in the hands of young people, for sure. For sure.
And it's really interesting because, we're talking a lot about just commonly black folk, right? But this is also for everybody, right? Because I think a lot of people out there who might be watching are thinking the same thing, and they're not even black. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what what's going on? Like, how did this happen? And some people
I mean,
know.
in terms of the conditions
Yeah, the
now
conditions
that we
that
see now. Oh,
exist,
for
right?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's why I say this is not just for black audiences or Negroes or African Americans or colored folk. This is for all folk,
Yeah.
however you identify, because it's very important to understand that we have been in positions of great adversity, but have produced
Yeah.
so much out of adversity in different periods of time, and we still do. But when we think about that family structure that existed, when I say I had the blessing to be in relationship with both of my grandparents on both sides. That doesn't happen a lot anymore. I mean, Tyrone, like, let me ask you a question. So let's just say out of the 10 friends that you have, right? Um, how many of your 10 friends that you have their parents still together in the same household?
Uh, I would say not really none of them.
None?
Yeah,
Are you sure about that?
yeah.
Pretty rare, huh?
So maybe out of the 10 friends that you have, how many of the friends say, you know what, I'm getting ready to go over to my grandparents' house, or I live with my grandparents then?
Oh, I would say
Oh, that was a quick answer. Okay, see, you see what I'm talking about.
More
Go
common.
ahead.
I would say like probably 4 to 5 of them.
4 to 5 out of the 10
Yep.
either live with their grandparents, or they live with their grandparents, or they're getting ready to go to their houses, or how does that work with your friends?
Going to their houses.
Okay. And for you, when you think about that for yourself and you think about family, right? Because family comes in all kinds of forms. And how important is family for you? And what do you think, as we were talking about this generation of like our grandparents that were together, families were together, communities were together, businesses was happening, schools were rich, I mean, churches, all these things were working together. Nothing was perfect,
Right.
but it was just more of a working kind of dynamic that we had at one point in time. Right now, in 15,
Yep.
in your 15-year-old perspective, how do you see family happening within the black or African American community right now? How do you even see that working?
I mean, I mean, your love really comes from your parents, grandparents, aunties, and uncles. But I mean, when they fail to show love, the community, the black community, is always there. Like I would say, the North Side. You know, it changed me a lot because I grew up, I grew up and mostly in a two-parent household, but not with my birth mom. So, it's a lot of, I would say, I grew up around a lady named Miss Jamie, and she was like the closest thing to a mom I ever had. So, other than Miss Queen, but so I probably got closer around her. But when they failed to show up or failed to support and be there, you kind of hurts. But you always gotta have a community that's always there. That always hug you tight. Like when they say it takes a village to raise a kid, it's really true.
And when we think about that village you was talking about, just even here where we are in St. Paul right now, this was once a village of a community that's still there. Just like we have villages on the south side of Minneapolis that were communities that were thriving, that are still there, changing though. Villages over north that are still there, changes. But Cindy, talk about, because we're dealing with this whole idea of the lost Negroes of North America. Talk a little bit about your, growing up in the Rondo community. What when you think about then and now, and those great elders that we have benefited from, that have sacrificed for these opportunities that we're in now, talk about that, because I don't know. There was probably once a time, not probably. Let me change the wording, but there was once a time that this wouldn't even be happening.
For sure.
But at the same time, the Negro had their own institutions that this would be happening.
That's correct. That's
So,
correct.
so talk a little bit of more how that applies to Rondo and maybe your recognition or reflection of that.
I grew up, actually, both of my parents were from the Rondo area. My grandparents, were, raised them in the Rondo area. And so I come from a lineage of a very tight-knit Black community over here in St. Paul. I still know a lot of the families because we all, did things together. The social clubs. It wasn't necessarily even in church. I know there's a group of women who were part of a social club that my mom belonged to, and they would get together, monthly, and their children would become, part of my personal village. And we would all do things together, and then we would end up going to school together. And we still, we'll still run into each other to this day, because a lot of the people have stayed firmly planted in this area because of the history and because of the real grounding that the Rondo era, held. It's so important that, right now we've got streets that are named after Rondo and people who've come from Rondo. And like I said, my grandfather, he worked the railroad, and he would go, out across the country and do his thing and be a waiter. And as would many of the men who were also red caps, with the airlines and on the trains. And we're just here. I can't even really fully describe it. And it's such a rare, unique thing that when we go across the water to Minneapolis, sometimes you'll say, well, what's the same kind of area over there? And there really isn't any. There's no comparison. And so I'm really proud.
Wait, hold on. You said what now?
There's really no comparison
To St. Paul's.
to St. Paul Rondos. Now,
Well-
of course, we got the South Minneapolis.
Oh,
Of course,
you know this is gonna
I
be-
know, but it's not. No, we get into this,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
there is no comparison.
Right. Let
There
me just
really
say,
is no
St. Paul's
comparison.
a special place. But I-
94.
But let's also give honor to
Absolutely.
where honor is due.
Yes.
The actual subject matter of this particular
That's correct.
film comes from one of those
That's
communities in South
Yes,
Minneapolis,
yes.
where, and then we can talk a little bit more about that. You see the St.
You
Paul,
asked me to talk
Minneapolis
about
dynamic
Rondo,
happening.
though.
I did ask you to talk about Rondo, but you know,
No,
I
I
had
know.
to jump in
That's
there
I
like,
know.
wait a minute, I know over north and south
Yeah,
side,
no,
we got
I'm
a little
South Side
something
too.
Yeah.
I'm South Side. No,
Okay.
for sure. No
No,
doubt. Yeah.
but what it is though, it's beautiful because any area where there's a black presence
correct.
has a community like that,
That's right.
or a memory like that. And so the special part is with this particular film, The Lost Negroes of North America, and once again, it's screening here at the History Center, November 18th, Saturday, November 18th, from 2 to 4 p.m. A free event,
Free
no
event.
charge.
Yes.
So please come out and bring your family. It's a totally intergenerational
That's right.
experience, and it's not for just for black folks. It's for everybody, and it's education, history, art, and an important narrative
Yes.
that needs to be embraced not only here in the Twin Cities area, but this is actually the unique value of this particular film is that there's nothing else like this in the world.
Right.
This is a deep examination of 45 minutes of 8 millimeter film indigenous to a specific northern Negro community. And it's such a rich visual experience that goes and it navigates in all areas of how the then people interacted with each other in their immediate spaces of institutions, leisure,
Yeah.
and other things. And it has so much value, historic value, that I will just let you determine that. And so as we close with that invitation to all Minneapolis and St. Paul and
And beyond.
and beyond, and honor the legacy of the Negro.
Yes.
Tyrone, what are some things that we can say looking to the future? Like, what do you want to see happening in the future? Because we're looking back, but we kind of need some inspiration moving to the future. What do you want to see in your community where you are in the next, by the time you're our age, you know?
I mean, community coming together more and help the upcoming youth for the next generation.
Okay, excellent. Cindy, where do you want to see this generation when they're our age, looking back, but looking forward to?
I want to see them be fearless and stepping up to mold what they want to be and what they want this world to look like. I want them to be fearless, and I want them to not be afraid to do.
And I can just end and say that although the title is The Lost Negroes of North America, we are not fully lost at all. And a part of this expression of history and art and education is one step to how we can look back to find ourselves. And I look forward to how this is going to bring people together and really give more purpose, knowing what we really share in those values that come from that generation that did great things. And so if we can just kind of come together in some of those common values, I'm very hopeful
Yeah.
about the future, but at the same time, there's a warning too, because it is the lost Negroes of North America. So it's either way you want to go. So come and join us
Yes.
November 18th, Saturday, 2 to 4 p.m. live here in this beautiful theater space in the
That's
3M auditorium at the Minnesota History Center in Cindy, St. Paul. So,
That's right.
so we'll see you there. Peace.
All right.